All right, so for reading this week, we are continuing talking about fiction stories, but we are going to be kind of talking about different kinds of fiction. So we're going to kind of be getting into fairy tales, folk tales, fables, myths, legends. You probably learned a little bit about these last year. So this is like, you know how we have fiction. Hold on, let me do it this way. Okay, so let me explain it better. We have fiction. Okay, so that is our genre, right? So when we look at fiction, we also have realistic fiction, right? We all know that one. Y'all know that one really well because y'all learned a lot about that one last year. Okay, we also have what's called fairy tales, which we're going to learn about today. So that is also fiction. We also have folk tales, which is also fiction. Then we have fables. Then we have myths. We also have legends. Okay, so it's kind of different types of fiction. So they're kind of under like the fiction, what I like to call like the fiction umbrella. So like if this was an umbrella, these are all the different kinds of fiction that go under that fiction umbrella. Okay, so we have different kinds of fiction that go under our fiction umbrella. Camila, if you can't hear me, it may be something to do on your end because my sound is working. Can everybody else hear me? Thumbs up. Can you hear me? Okay, if you can't hear me, you may need to just turn your sound up because I got thumbs up from everybody else. All right, so we have our umbrella, which is fiction. So we're learning about the different kinds of fiction that go under the umbrella. Okay, does this make sense? We got that? Okay, all right, so we're going to be learning about fairy tales. That's the kind of different, we're going to be learning about that kind of fiction today. We're going to be focusing on it, and then we'll focus on some other kinds, some of our other kinds along the way. So to start it, we are going to actually read the true story of the three little pigs. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you this is a fairy tale, okay? The true story of the three little pigs, okay? All right, Miguel, hand down, wait till the end. So while we're reading, what I want you looking for, I want you to look for what makes it fiction, and I also want you to look for kind of why you think that it might be considered a fairy tale. What about it kind of tells you, oh, that could be a fairy tale. That has some kind of stuff in it that I would consider that. Everybody knows the story of the three little pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in once upon a time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone's house, so I called, little pig, are you in?" No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed a great sneeze. And you know what? The whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger, just lying there. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house out of sticks. I rang the doorbell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in?" He yelled, "Go away, Wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin." I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed, and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was a second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now, you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He built his house out of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in?" And do you know what that rude little porker answered? "Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again." Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't even give me one little cup for my dear, sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when someone talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down the pig's door. And the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the two pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all that huff and puff and blow your house down. And they made me the big bad wolf. That's it, the real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. All right, So that is the true story of the 3 little pigs.